Welcome to another Sunday morning conversation, everybody. Today, my guest is Brian Elder. He is with the running group Roswell Running Company. So we talk a little about his communities, him coaching. So thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Hey, how are you?
Man, it's another day in the life. I love it.
Awesome. Let me, I'm trying to make sure my sound is coming through properly. Awesome. Can you hear me?
I used to, it got softer.
Okay, it's softer, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, that better?
Absolutely.
Okay,
100%.
sweet. Awesome. Well, thanks for having me join. Appreciate the chance to join. So
Yeah, man, I love having local people on. It's better. The audience likes it a lot more.
Really?
I'm in Vinings.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, man, tell me, like, the Big Bang Theory. How did this all come together in the inception of Roswell Running Company?
How it all came together?
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially, I was kind of moving to the area in Roswell, kind of just after I'd gotten married, and had a huge running group that I was part of, kind of in the Athens area. And from there, since moving here, it was one of those things where I was just looking for more people to train with, kind of thing, and knew Roswell was a pretty active area, even based on just kind of what we'd seen when we moved around here. And so kind of all that together made me want to find other people that were running and just to have sort of a group of people that I could meet up with, have that sort of sense of accountability almost to get me out the door on the days when I didn't want to. And kind of combined with that, at the same time, I'd already been coaching runners on the side and had a couple people start reaching out to me through just kind of word of mouth, basically asking me to start building some type of training for them because they were running half marathons and 5Ks, 10Ks, that sort of thing. So it basically kind of all came together where I was like, well, I mean, if I'm going to start having people reach out and ask for training plans, if I'm going to look for a way to kind of get people to run together in Roswell, it seems like kind of a natural thing to sort of, try and establish here. And the thing is if you ever looked up anything Roswell running specific, there really wasn't anything here. As active as the community is, there wasn't like a centralized place where people could go and meet with like a group. So trying to establish and sort of foster that was a huge part of it.
That's nice, man. Yeah, I mean, I really love. I run at West Ride just because it's right around the corner for me. But man, it is just so nice to have someone to run with, just get you out the door. Because if it's just me alone, I give it 60-40 chance that I might not go that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely
helpful. The nice thing about group runs is like 90% of my friends came from it. We all do the same shit. We all live in the same neighborhood. Hey man, let's be friends. Works out great, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's nice when you can always just reach out to somebody that lives nearby, and it's not like a huge ordeal. It's one of those things, if they can make it and you can run together, perfect. You never know what kind of conversation you can end up having on a run and who you meet and that sort of thing. It's definitely awesome to have. And the people you meet, I think, are people that end up being friends for a long time.
So tell me what your store's got going on at the moment.
Say it one more time.
Tell me what your store's got going on at the moment.
So we actually don't have a store. Basically, just a group of people that are running together, and we sell training plans. We coach and train people. So I work with a lot of high school runners. I trained high school runners for 7-8 years at this point now, and I work with a lot of local kids in the area. I also work with adults. So, I mean, I train people as young as in their sophomore, freshman year in high school, all the way up to, I think I'm training a guy right now who's in his 70s in the Grandmaster division of races. So really a lot of it's just word of mouth, people that know me, people that are in this area looking for training and coaching is just kind of how we reach out and make connections there.
Oh man, that's great. It's very organic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Super organic. A lot of the work that goes into it is just through relationships and the people you meet. I work a full-time job, and so it's one of those things that it's just on the side that I'm able to kind of do one of the things that I'm passionate about and good at. And so getting to use those gifts and talents in any kind of way is always fun.
So, what was your driving force for wanting to use such an organic way of getting yourself out there?
I think it's just limitations of time. I think one of those things that you have, everyone has so much going on, myself included, that I think it does limit how much I can even do. I think there's definitely things we can do to continue to grow and reach out more in our community. Because there's people that we still meet. They're like, man, I didn't know you all met on a routine basis. And I think the hope would be at some point that that's not something that people say in the Roswell or in the surrounding areas, that they know, hey, we're a group that they can kind of come to and find much easier than just kind of through word of mouth. So we're doing things to try and establish that more and make sure that people can easily connect and reach out.
So, what are your next steps going forward? What is your plan? What do you tell me what you got in your business plan? I'm not going to steal it, but I'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll steal it if it's good. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest things I want to do a lot is partner more with local races. So we have a membership sort of program where we work with local race directors, and race directors kind of give our members discounts to races that are in the area that we partner with. One of the things we haven't done as much is beyond just like getting our runners to certain events, we haven't sort of offered our own training and sort of I guess the sweet spot of things that we're good at to the race directors themselves. So I think one of the biggest things I'm starting to do is when I do connect with the race directors and meet those people, making sure that we're able to offer training plans to the people that are coming to their events. So kind of expanding that reach to how many people we're training and who we're training on a consistent basis.
Who do you look for in clients when you choose them?
That's a great question. I personally don't choose clients. I don't like go out of the way like looking for a specific type of client. So one of the things that I'm a strong believer in, and that's why we eventually added another coach, was that runners need custom training. I don't think that training works well when you just kind of go online and get some sort of plan. I think it works. If you go online and you just get some sort of half marathon training plan and you just kind of gauge it based off your experience, that's perfectly fine. But I don't think you're going to see the exact kind of results that you could see if you had customized training. So typically, whenever I'm building training plans, I do kind of an in-depth questionnaire, kind of a survey to get that background information that I need from a client. And then from there, I build a training plan based on not only their experience, their injury history, but a big one in my mind is just kind of general schedule. So if you're planning to do a training plan and it doesn't fit your schedule, you're just kind of general cadence of life, the likelihood that you're going to succeed is pretty low. So I think it's important that you can work with somebody that knows how to build training around what your routine and patterns of life are. So I'm a big believer that you can be very, very successful running, even if you only do it 4 days a week, as long as you're building in some other type of cross training or just being active in other ways. So I think kind of getting even a gauge of like what's the capacity that someone has to train for a race. So sort of looking at all those things, identifying and trying to understand what their goals are, all combined is really important. And that's one thing you just don't get if you just go online and you buy a generic training plan from someone.
Yeah, on the flip side, when I look for a coach, I like to consider myself unique. I suffered a traumatic brain injury. I'm a triathlete, and I mean, everybody and their brother can get the coaching certifications. It's really easy. So it's not like it's that special.
No, you're right.
For me, I needed to, I looked for people that had some kind of experience, whether indirect, direct, quasi-direct, with brain injuries or healthcare field in their day job. And I knew they stood a better chance of getting inside my head because I don't even know what goes on in there. I can't explain it. But if they can get in my head, then I'm in a good position because then they can get the most out of me by pushing my buttons. So that's what I always look for in a coach.
Yeah, definitely. I think you kind of touched on the idea. A guy that I used to work with in the running industry, he owns his own running store. He used to always say that every client that would come in is an experiment of one, in the sense that like when you put shoes on somebody, every single person's feet were different, and so what one person's preference might be over for one shoe might be completely different than another person for another type of shoe. I think the same can be true for a coach, right? You may have a coach that fits you well, that understands you well, that knows how to push the right buttons and can get the most out of you. And there may be another coach that just can't do that. I think you see that with like education and teaching a lot of times. Is certain teachers are people that you're drawn to that you can learn from, and others you just don't. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. It's just the nature of just connection and relationships and who we are able to learn from and grow sort of with.
Yeah, I mean, I think the right fit is important because if it's the wrong fit, you're just pounding your head against the wall and you're not going to get hardly anything out of it. It's got to be kind of like a symbiotic relationship where you can kind of move and work together and benefit from each other. I don't know if that's how you see your clients.
Yeah, I think it's you got to be willing to experiment. If you're only going to continue to train the way you have previously, I think a lot of people will come to me and they're like, hey, I've got plenty of experience running. I've trained for a long time. I'm just looking to kind of get to the next level. But there's certain people that aren't willing to change how they train because it's comfortable. Like I said, it kind of fits their routine, and so I think that can limit people. Is just if you're talking about a symbiotic relationship, being able to kind of work off of one another, make adjustments, adapt. Unless you're willing to do that in your training, then I don't think you're going to see the results that you want. So sometimes you have to take risks and do something different in your training that may not work. And then if it doesn't work, I think that's where you look at it. You go back to the drawing board and make adjustments and then kind of move forward from there.
I don't even think that's accurate. I mean, being in your comfort zone is the worst place you can be unless it's a Friday night and you don't want to do shit and you're watching Netflix. Other than that, as an athlete, you want to get out of your comfort zone because that's the only way you're going to grow. And I learned
Exactly.
that over 5 years of dealing with my brain injury, that I got to get out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to get any better. I'm not going to grow as a person. And the same thing applies as an athlete.
Yeah, definitely.
So what kind of style do you have when you do with your coach, your runners? I was looking for the word. I couldn't think of it.
What type of what you said? I couldn't hear you.
What's your style when you work with your runners?
That's a good question. I think initially you have to kind of do a needs analysis almost of each runner, unless you're understanding really clearly who they are, what they need as a runner. Because some runners have different strengths. Some people might be better at shorter, faster distances. Others might struggle when they get into different conditions, whether that be heat, whether that be topography and like hills in a certain race or course. I think it's really important to know what those things are and what those strengths and weaknesses are. So that's kind of one of the first things I sort of approach when I'm working with clients one-on-one and do training sessions that way is I'll take people on runs and do a very particular either pace or at a particular location because I want to see certain things that are happening on the run so that I can identify those strengths and weaknesses initially. Because if something already is a strength, something is already been worked on, or something maybe someone is just naturally more gifted in a particular area, I know that I have a limited window of things that I can work on in terms of time to be able to do that. So I would rather focus on those weaknesses and really try and target them and say, hey, these are the things that you've got to get better at. Like if you're going to improve, this is one area that you're struggling in. So we really got to do workouts. We've got to build training around or really to address those things so that you can kind of break out of that plateau. Because a lot of times that's what I see happens is runners will come to me and say, hey, I've plateaued in performance. I'm not seeing any results. Can you help me kind of figure out why? And because they can't, they're trying the same thing over and over again, or they don't know what is the reason for it. So really identifying those weaknesses early on is important.
Man, I can't tell you how fucking frustrating it is to beat your head against the wall and get nowhere doing all the same things. I hated
Yeah.
it. Happens a lot with brain injuries. Man, there's not, if I could do away with that part, life wouldn't be all that bad, you know? But eventually I learned. My mom is very proud of me when it takes 3 years.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So man, to get you out of here on this, what do you want to do with this? What's the end game? Do you want to bring in more employees? What are your ambitions for this?
Yeah, I don't think there's necessarily an ambition to grow it into something. I think there have been at different seasons or times that may have been a goal, but I think the biggest goal for me is just to find ways to get people to run together, and train together. I think that's a big sort of draw for me. Is I think people, when they're running together with other people, they see themselves grow a lot. They build new relationships, friendships, and running. I think that's one of the things that's great about it is anyone can pick up and do it, no matter what kind of level that you're at. I think you can see yourself improve. It gives you an opportunity to work towards something, to set goals and try to achieve it. And when you're doing that with other people, it's more exciting, it's more fun, it's engaging, and so any way in which I can kind of continue just to get the community in which we're living in active and together, I think that's a big win.
I'll share you a true story before we hang up. I picked up my ex-fiance at a group run at a women's running store. I felt like I was shooting fish in a barrel, but hey, it worked, right? All right, man. Hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm glad we can hook up.
for sure. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your week.
Right, you too. Bye.